what was the background to this one, story-wise?
Well, about a year and a half ago, I lost my son in that he was in front of me one minute. We were on vacation in Malta, by the pool, busy, and he was right in front of me one moment, and I got to admit, I was texting on my mobile phone, and a few seconds later, oh, wasn't there, no. And he was not anywhere, peripheral vision anywhere. There's people running past in all directions, busy, and I started thinking, my heart rate started to come up, and I started to think, someone's taken him. And I started calling Felix. I started shouting Felix, and you know, for all anyone knows, I've lost my cat. Who knows? But no one was helping. No one was doing anything to help, and no one could see him, and I couldn't see him. And my eyes scanned this way, that way, to all the exits that I knew in the resort, and he was not there. And I'd imagined these images. You know, you've seen these images of children led off by people. I had it all in my head. Things I should not think about happening to my son. And I was ready to rip, I'd have ripped their arms, legs, I'd have done anything. And I just started, and then I thought, okay, maybe I'm being irrational. He's gone round to the other pool, around the other side, which is a few minutes round. I started to run, there's a glint on the water that caught my attention. I went right to the edge, and it was an optical illusion because he was under the water the whole time. And he looked like a corpse. And I dived in, fully clothed, you know, knocking people out of the way kind of thing, pulled him out thinking I was pulling the body of my son out, and I lifted him, I shook him, and he choked and he vomited over me, which was a fantastic moment because he was there. But during that time, I was so gripped by this experience, I thought, why have I not seen a movie that has that play out, that feeling that I felt? And I'm only a man, I haven't carried this child for 9 months, has to be a woman who stops at nothing, and I couldn't write anything else, it just fell out from there.
When Howard first mentioned it to me, that he was writing something, and that the likelihood was that I wouldn't play the part. I mean, you were always very clear about that. Yeah. But you know, I knew that the chances were, if you know, they would get a name.
But here's the thing: I'd already booked Angela on the flight 6 months previous. She didn't know. I didn't tell her. In fact, I booked the whole cast and crew 6 months previous.
By name?
Flights. Yep, had all their names. I booked them, and there was 11 flights. I booked. Not a single person said no. I told some of them 3 weeks before we went.
And talking about flights, notorious for having a bit of a jolly every time you make a film. In that you never make them at home, do you? You've got to have a trip into it.
Do you know that here's the thing, Billy, that I see rooms around me all the time. You know, I'm in one now, I'm going to see one in a minute, and I'll see one when I go home. I'm in them all the time. I think if you're going to take people into a darkened room and show them something,
transport them somewhere.
Take them somewhere they haven't been, or they're not likely to have been. But I've always been fairly obsessed by travel, and I'm not someone who can stay in one place, one country for more than a month, and I get a bit itchy thinking I should go somewhere. If I wasn't a filmmaker, I'd like to think, you know, I was on a ship discovering lands, but they're all discovered.
Well, you put it, because of the context of your films, the scenarios, you quite often put yourself in danger.
I must admit, I knew this film would be tough, but it was tougher than I thought. It really was difficult. And I have to say, you know, working with Angela was fantastic. I don't say that just because he's sitting next to me, but it really, really was. But it was very difficult, and a lot of the cast and crew were in uncomfortable situations.
How was it for you?
All the sort of other stuff didn't really bother me a lot. I've travelled a lot by myself as a single woman in Asia. I've travelled a lot in the Middle East, so I'm quite used to that, and I'm quite used to putting myself at risk, and Howard knew that.
All the charging about, was any of that done completely Maverick style?
That's one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to camera operate every shot in the film as well, because I wanted to get some of that feeling that I had.
Are you the POV operator?
Yeah, I'm the POV.
Okay.
In fact, I think all bar 2 shots in the movie, they're all operated by myself. I focus pulled as well, didn't have a focus puller, because I wanted to feel every shot.
Is there any particularly arduous moment that you can recall?
I think when they took the ladder away in the tannery, they were quite upset that I was wearing an abaya. I think that was the reason why.
Yes.
And Howard was on top of the roof, and they said, "Angela, come up here, quick!" So I sort of went up, and then having to climb up these walls to get up to where you were, and I was actually thinking, I'm not sure I can get up there.
But you write these things in a script, and you realise the practicality. It was a foolish thing to do. But so we were committed to running with bare feet, and some of the ground, we'd end up in the location chosen for the look of it, and the ground would be like,
I was just going to say, you've evidently got
dangerous.
no fear of heights whatsoever.
Do you know, funnily enough, I have.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, that certainly didn't show, because there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, no, Howard jumped first, he always jumped
I always
first.
said, look, if I can't do it, I don't expect you to do it.
I should know this, but have you got any children yourself?
I haven't yet, not yet. I would love to. It's funny because as an actor, you're not always going to be able to have all the experience that your character
No, that's
has.
part of the acting, isn't it?
It's part of the acting. So, but it was a really interesting process for me to find the substitution for Sophie. It was also sort of almost like a discovering what's important to you, and you really have to find this in order to make it real. And it was really important to me because I knew that Howard had written a really, really complex script. It's not just an acting film. Actually, there's a whole other journey that goes on with this character, and so I wanted to be able to do both of them. I wanted the strength and the physicality and that physical dexterity and the killer, but I also wanted to show the vulnerability and the journey that she goes through from being this postnatally depressed woman who's had problems surviving the experience of being present at her father's death, to a point where she can connect with her child and connect to herself and find forgiveness and redemption.
Be honest, I mean, you're the director, you wrote it. The film rested on your shoulders, really.
It's the Angela Dixon show.
Yeah, I said at the
Is
beginning.
it like,
I said to her, do you know this is going to be the Angela Dixon show? You know
it fails or it flies depending on your performance. I mean, and aside from having to channel those extreme emotions, you've got that in the back of your head.
You knew that only too well, didn't you?
I knew that only too well. It was a huge... I went through immense debilitating stress and pressure before and during, I think, really. I think there was one moment when I said, I think I'm broken today. Helen.
Yeah. There were times.
Today I'm broken, but it will be all right. I'll get back.
Yeah. It's sad to feel you're doing that to someone, but I also knew the investment, and we had at least chatted about this at the beginning, that we knew it was going to be incredibly difficult, but having this performance, roles of this complexity, and it, being the sole carrier of the film in that way, it was an investment to make. So that's how we kind of kept reminding ourselves it was worth carrying on.
I didn't feel done to, though, I have to say. I didn't feel as though it was you that was doing it.
No.
You must do this.
No.
I felt very much that that's what I had to do, and you feel very alive when you're doing that as well.
Near tragedy got turned into a wonderful piece of art.
Well, it's nice when life can do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And out of some, horrendous situation, here we are.
It's the proverbial silver lining.
Yeah.